Hey everyone, Hurricane Liz here, and in this video, I share with you the total amount of revenue that I actually made in the month of October. And while I know it's a little bit late, it's better late than never. And the other thing that I want to point out about this is while I am sharing with you the total amount of revenue, I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that anyone can do this while getting started from scratch. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. Now, from the previous videos, as I've mentioned to my longtime watchers, this was starting from scratch all over again because I did take a 3.5 month break. However, I had a lot of things in place here that I will talk about at the beginning of this video. So instead of considering this as an income report, it's more or less an effort report because I did have to start all over from not necessarily ground zero, but somewhere a little above that. So I'll explain more here in just a minute. But other than that, sit back, relax, and enjoy as I give you a lesson in business that you can take from any business that you have, even if it fails. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, so even though I said that this was an income report, I more or less want to classify this as an effort report. And the reason for that is there's really a core group of business fundamentals that come into place, and I'll name them off here one by one, and then we'll go into each of the actual businesses that I started all over again from scratch. And while it might seem, or I might have made it seem that I was starting from scratch, I truly am not, because of the fact that I've had years and years in this actual business, and as a result, I've collected a number of assets, again, which I'm gonna talk about here in a minute. But I do want you to take away a simple lesson from this. Anytime you're in any sort of business, once that business fails, if it does, try and save any sort of assets you can from the business because you never know when they can come in handy. And once again, you can start an entirely new business based off of these assets. And again, I'll explain here in a second. So let's talk about the 5 key assets that I actually lump into assets. And the first one being time. So you always have to estimate the amount of time it actually takes you to create a business from scratch, or either create a business in which you already have standard operating procedures, or just nothing more than a sheet that tells your employees what to do step by step. And in a lot of cases, you're not going to be able to afford this, so you are going to have to devote a ton of time in order to build all this out. Now remember, time is your time, and while it seems like it is free, it's not in reality free, because you are spending that amount of time where you could otherwise have an actual full-time job and get paid by an employer for that time. So your time should always have a price. And in a lot of these instances, while I did devote my personal time, there were instances where I outsourced it, and that's because I had asset number 2, which is money. So when you do have money, you have the ability to be able to pay somebody to do your job for you, and it takes a lot less time off your hands once you have SOPs in place and somebody can actually do the things you do step by step. Now, an SOP can either be in the format of a video or a written out step-by-step actual do-it-yourself guide for complete dummies. Now remember, you're gonna have to do this from scratch and make sure that even a 6th grader could do this step by step, because you never can tell the level of intelligence that your employees will have. Hopefully they're pretty smart, but in some cases you do get some that come around and they're not the brightest tools in the shed. Now let's talk about number 3, and possibly one of those underutilized assets of the whole entire thing, and that is resources, which can include things like email lists, YouTube channels, Facebook groups, or any type of way that you can communicate with your audience. And on top of that, it can also include things like websites and the assets of the website and such. A lot of people don't think about these things, but you can start a business entirely from scratch when you have these things. And let me explain what I'm about to show you. What I'm about to show you and the results I'm about to show you come from the efforts of my email list, as well as my business partners' email list, as well as my YouTube channel and things like that. We also have some Facebook groups, and we have several assets related to this. So that's why we're able to create such a successful business in 30 to 45 days just by having these things on hand already. And so the 4th most important asset that you could have is already existing skills. In my case, the actual skills that I used in order to create this income were not only the ability to email and to sell in that email, the ability to do webinars, as well as the ability to do videos. And pretty much this includes any type of specialized knowledge that you have in your field or in any other associated field, particularly in the art of making money online. And lastly, let's rush to the 5th one, which is also the most underlooked at asset in the entire actual list. That is your network. So the people that you communicate with on a day-to-day basis, or the people that are your friends and would be willing to give you or do a favor for you in the roughest of times. And the perfect example that I have for this is my business partner in the Amazon Mastermind. While he's good at what he does, which is being a master of all things Amazon, he's not that good in sales. So that provides a relationship that we can start together and work on together in order to sell an event. Like like the event we just had in the past. So now that I've explained all that, let's go through each of the 5 actual businesses, and I'm going to throw in a couple bonus things that I did at the end so you can see how I just pretty much hustled for 30 days to make this amount of money. And I'll also talk about which assets were used in the creation of each business and the total amount of revenue that that business made or is projected to make, particularly coming into the next month. And before we get into that, I just want you guys to think about what kind of assets do you have if you want to get started with a brand new business, and how can you utilize that in the best possible way in order to have the highest level of results that you can in the next 30 days. All right, so business number 1 was the Amazon Mastermind, which we pretty much had 45 days to put together. And while this is something that we do have that's recurring, let me explain the assets that we use in order to sell this. Number 1 is an email list. Number 2 is those groups that I talked about earlier. And then finally, number 3 is just running some ads, or the ability to have a specialized knowledge, as well as running a webinar and writing emails to the actual existing email list. And here we can see that the total amount of actual money collected is not even actually written on the sheet, but you'll see that I'm going through here and showing you some of the payments that we took. You can see at first we ran a $997 special. So that means $997 to attend this thing virtually from the comfort of your own home. And while for the most part, it looks like we sold a total of about 50-ish. There was a couple here that never shows the payment yet. So altogether, I want to say that this generated at least $50,000 in revenue with a very minimal amount of ad spend as well as spend on other expenses. And nobody was paid for this, so the speakers got to plug anything that they wanted. And pretty much the speakers all did their actual speeches because they did favors for my business partner. And I pretty much ran all the rest of the marketing as well as the emails. And it worked out extremely well because, yes, we did a total amount of about $50,000 in revenue in the course of, say, 30 to 45 days. However, there are additional things that people that attended that event now want to buy. Things like the recordings from the first part and now the recordings from the second part. So in the next couple weeks, I will hit that email list once again with emails about purchasing the previous content from version 1.0 as well as this version 2.0. And that will probably bring in another $20,000 to $30,000 in revenue just from this same actual level of effort. So altogether, it was a pretty good amount of effort to put into this in order to generate these sales, but it was well worth it. As you can see here, this is going to be split in half, 50-50 after all expenses. So that was the Mastermind. And like I said, it pretty much took primarily time, resources, existing skills, and the network of having those friends and previous guests. All right, so let's talk about business number 2. And that business is the YouTube channel, which, in case you didn't notice, I did hit 20,000 subscribers, so I'm super fired up about that. I'm gonna need to think about some kind of giveaway to give people that, in general, that comment the most on this actual channel, so I will decide that very soon and let you know. However, looking apart from the 20,000 subscriber, the most fascinating fact about this actual channel is the fact that it generates about 10 to 15 leads per day. And what I mean by that is that it's very similar to Jade Summer in some regards. So while Jade Summer gives you 100 free coloring pages in order for you to sign up for her email list, I do something very similar on my actual sign up list where I give people a 2020 Amazon FBA cheat sheet or a couple other different things just by subscribing to my actual email list. And that's the email list that I sell other things to. So as Jade Summer taught us in the previous video, it's incredibly important to start your own email list because that, again, is an asset that you can use whether this business works for you or not. In the future, you might find that you sell something else to that actual core group of people that you're collecting your email list, particularly if you keep in contact with them, which, again, we'll talk about later on in the next coming weeks on how you can do this, and I will even write some emails for you. How exciting is that? And once again, this channel becomes an existing asset for me to be able to use in all my other businesses. So like I said, when you start a business, whether or not it succeeds or fails, those assets that you have in the business, you can use in other future businesses. And the total amount that we actually earn on this channel, let me go over there and show you guys, is not even including affiliate commissions because I haven't even actually looked at that, but that's $1,066.44, which is up from the previous months, which were about between $600 and $700. So not too bad considering that it covers a wide topic of actual ideas. Okay, so the next business that I want to talk about, while it hasn't been officially started, the free version has been available for people to jump on, and that is my reseller group in Discord called Resell Riches. And while it has pretty much been a success, and again, while we cannot say that this has been a money success. It has been an effort success because of the simple fact that at the present time, we have approximately 350 people on this actual server, as you can see by this, as well as the number of people that are online, and people are having all sorts of successes. As you can see here, the number of people that have been actually copying or buying things on here that they can quickly and easily buy wherever they're buying it from and then resell it on eBay or on Craigslist. So we've had a number of actual members have a tremendous amount of success, and I like to talk the talk as well as walk the walk. You can see these $600 that I actually recently collected for a set of power blocks, which I managed to cop on Amazon and then sell on the streets on Craigslist. So I'm doing what I actually teach people. Practice what you preach. That is my number one motto, and that's why I'm in here as well, hustling with everybody who joins this group. And for a limited time, it is still free, so there is a link in the box below if you want to join. However, in the next week, we will be moving over to a paid platform, and that's when you will see the real money coming in. So I will keep you guys updated on how that actually goes. But so far, it seems like it's going to be a huge success, and it is simply for the fact that members that are in there right now for free are making money every single day. And once again, this is utilizing a lot of the actual existing assets that I already have. Right, so let's now talk about my reselling, which was brand spanking new in October, and I just started listing things. You'll see that I did have some things on StockX before because it's the simplest and easiest way to buy sneakers and resell them, as well as GOAT, which I'll talk about GOAT here in a minute. But we can see from this that right now what I have in terms of having sold as well as pending is I've got 2 shoes pending that I've just sold, this one for 70, this one for 72, and then we can take a look at the history on here. This white Regency purple Amarillo, this Jordan hair, this light smoke gray, and this satin floral pale ivory, all of which, there's also this Flint 2020 grade school. All these were sold in the past 30 days or so, and they continue to sell because I still have 5 listed. So I am adding those daily, but I am also making quite a bit of sales on StockX as well as GOAT. On GOAT, it looks like I had something very similar. It looks like I had almost 6 or 7 sales. So altogether about 15 sales or so, or one every other day, which is fantastic. I have been selling quite a bit of shoes, and I'm pretty happy for that, considering that I have not put in a ton of effort on each of these sites. Now let's go to the third site that I am selling on, which is eBay. Okay, so on eBay, you'll notice once again, I sold a bunch of shoes as well as a couple sewing machines, a couple of Nintendo Labos, and some more shoes. So altogether, while on eBay, once again, the shoes have been fire. Some of the rest of the stuff has not picked up, but I do imagine that it will pick up right now since we are about to be smack dab in the middle of Black Friday. And in order to be ready for Black Friday, in total, I have 57 listings at the present time, and I have about 10 to 15 more to add, which I will be doing this week. But this particular part of the actual business, I have outsourced some of it because it does take quite a bit of time to add listings as well as take pictures. And I don't really plan to spend that much of my time doing that part because I'm the one that's actually sourcing the actual merchandise. So I will keep you updated on how that goes and how further outsourcing in this business goes in the actual future. All right, so the only other couple businesses that I did want to talk about is once again my FBA business, which is currently in a lawsuit. However, it still managed to grow $66,000 in sales so far this past 30 days. However, that's a lot less than it usually would be, and the simple fact is that I am running out of stock, and while I'm putting in as much effort as I possibly can, once I'm out of stock, it's going to be at a standstill until everything is resolved. So I'm not really counting it on this actual income, but I still am counting it in the effort because I've been working on it quite some time. All right, the other 2 things that I'm not actually going to mention the total amounts because I don't want people to get disillusioned with the total amount of money I made, and I don't want them to copy what I do, nor do I want to be responsible for what happens if they do, because at the end of the day, I am a total degenerate when it comes to gambling, so I don't want you to be the same. But one of those is trading, which I won't talk about from this point forward. Maybe in the future I will if I get enough interest from it. But the other final thing is merch and KDP, and while I have not been working on those actively the past few months for the simple fact that I do not have a graphic artist, I will still show you what happens when you do work on those businesses. Every now and then you will get an outlier product that crushes it even with 0 ads. So I'm going to share with you one of those products which I have shared in previous videos, and this product continues to crush every single year. At the present time, which is November 15th, this product is already crushing it, and it still has about 2 good weeks of sales before the product doesn't really sell too much. This product is very seasonal, aimed at the Thanksgiving niche, and here are the total sales for that product. As you can see, it's my famous turkey face girl bow t-shirt, which so far has sold $290, bringing in a total amount of revenue of $4,197, and every single year it's the same thing. So I project that this will get to about $8,000 to $9,000 in revenue and bring me in about $1,000 in actual profit. So that's pretty much it. As you can see, like I said, it's not a business that I've devoted a ton of time to this year, but that's as a result of not having the right graphic artist. And in the future, when I have more time to actually work on this, I will. The majority of my time is spent on devoting my efforts and energy to learning more about the Amazon algorithm, which is what I teach you all in this actual channel. So questions in our comments below about any of the topics that I covered. I know it's a little bit advanced, but I do want to help most of you guys build long-term sustainable brands as well as assets that you can use in the future in any of your business endeavors. So remember, I always answer those things personally. So put your comments and your questions below. I'll see you all in the next video.